Hi, today I want to talk to you about my favorite photography books of 2020. These books didn't necessarily come out in the year 2020, but I have bought them in this year and read them in this year, and these are my favorite photography books of last year. So let's get into the video and start with number 5. Book number 5 is Real Food by Martin Parr. Martin Parr is a photographer that I have followed for probably the longest time of all the photographers that I knew. And he's really one of my most favorite photographers of all time. The reason for this is that he's very funny in his photography and he doesn't care so much, I think, about the aesthetics. I mean, aesthetics are still important to him, but I think they are trumped by sort of his way of looking on the world. And his way of looking on the world is a very humoristic view. How this book is made is really neat because it has like sort of like a plasticky wrap cover, emulating a cover of like a cheap restaurant, like a fast food restaurant, I think. And the photographs you will find in this book are photographs of food. Really bright close-ups of people eating food, of food on a plate. And as you go through it, you really find these bizarre images, and it becomes more and more bizarre. The whole concept of food becomes more and more bizarre the more you look at these photographs. And what really inspires me about this book as a photographer myself is to think in series. So any single image from this book wouldn't really be particularly interesting, but because he has made hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of pictures of bizarre food, and put them all together next to each other, they really create a collection of the strangeness of humanity. So, number 5, Martin Parr, Real Food. Coming up on number 4 is this beautifully published book, self-published book, Walking Svalbard by Willem Verbeek. You probably know Willem Verbeek if you are on photography YouTube for a while. He's a big YouTuber living in New York City, and he self-published this little book about his trip to one of the most northern towns in the world, Svalbard. I'm probably butchering this name.
Svalbard.
So in this book you will find beautiful, dark, nighttime images of houses, snow, landscapes, detailed shots. And these images are really dark but very beautiful. I think I believe he photographed them on a medium format camera, on film, because that's usually how he works. And yeah, I really like following his channel. I admire his photography, and I think this project really came together super well. How it's published, the book has like a plasticky wrap that has some snowflakes on it. I will show you the book without the wrap. This is what the book looks without the dust jacket. Yeah, and the way he uses color, the way he uses light, the way he focuses in on beautiful landscapes. Yeah, it's an incredible book. I really loved it. So this is number 4 on my list. Okay, coming up next, number 3 is a little bit of a different book. It's not a photography book in the same way that number 1 and 2 were, because it's not a photo book of just photographs. It's how I make photographs by Joel Meyerowitz. So Joel Meyerowitz is a huge photographer and personally for me a really big inspiration, just because he worked in all kinds of different genres. I think one of his biggest strengths and genres is street photography. So he did a lot of street photography in New York City. He's an American photographer, but he also made some beautiful, beautiful portrait work. He made some beautiful landscape photographs. And this book is basically a little masterclass by Joel Meyerowitz. It's published by Masters of Photography. And this is a cool little book because it takes you chapter by chapter. It takes you through Joel Meyerowitz's approach to photography. So he talks to you about how he makes decisions, what's important to him in photography, what he looks for, how to really engage with your craft and how to practice your craft. And throughout the book you will find examples of Joel Meyerowitz's photography throughout the years that he made, and he will explain by the images why this particular image works or what he was trying to achieve with this image or why he ended up selecting or picking this particular image to publish. I think this is a book that would be helpful whether you like Joel Meyerowitz's photography or not, because this book is a really cool toolkit for any photographer that is trying to learn, to improve, to lose the fear of failing and to just get out and take good pictures. Alright, coming up on number 2. But before I show you book number 2, if you're new to this channel and you like this kind of video, please subscribe and like this video so I know what kind of stuff you want me to make, and you can also follow my photography journey and not miss any future videos, so hit the like button. When this came in the post, I was kind of surprised of how big this book really is, but I was positively surprised because this is a beautifully published and amazing book, and it was out of print for a while and now it's back in print, and I'm super happy about it and to have it. This is really one of the coolest photography books in my collection so far. So this huge book is no other than House Hunting by Todd Hido. Todd Hido is another very famous photographer that you probably know if you've been around in the photography world for a while. And also, if you've seen Walking Svalbard by Willem Verbeek, the book that I mentioned before, you'll see where Willem got some of his inspiration, and this would probably be from this book, House Hunting by Todd Hido. These are big photographs of kind of lonely, dreamy, creepy houses during the night in kind of quiet suburban neighborhoods in the US, I believe. I believe this work was shot in the US, and that Todd Hido is an American photographer, but I'm not 100%. Let me show you some of the images in this book. So the images in this book have a really atmospheric, dreamlike quality to them. They're beautiful, the light is beautiful, everything looks like a dream painting. And I think that this is a combination of Todd Hido really working well with light, really working well with arranging choosing his subject super well, but also doing some stuff in post-production. And when you look at these images, you really feel like something is drawing you in. So it's very inspirational, a very unique book. I haven't seen anything like this before. and it's beautifully published. This format is amazing because you really get to look at all the details of the photographs and really lose yourself and explore each picture. You can spend probably a lot of time on each picture, and this is a book that I've pulled out over and over again and really loved. Okay, coming up onto my number one, last but definitely not least, Arcadia by Ian Haworth. So Ian Haworth is a Brighton-based photographer in the UK, and I've come across Ian Haworth through Willem Verbeek and his channel. I started by looking at his Instagram, and then he published this amazing, beautiful book, Arcadia, and I really had to get it the moment it came out, and I was really lucky to get it because I think by now it's already been sold out. There are no copies left. I don't know if you can get it anywhere anymore. Maybe you can look for it. By the way, all the links to the books that you can still buy, I will put for you in the description below. So if I had to describe what the book Arcadia is about, I would say that it's moments that Ian Haworth noticed around him. So it's him noticing particular moments. And I think what makes his photography unique is that there is a certain nostalgia in the photos, but also a sort of very contemporary quality to the images. So, and he was really amazing at bringing this nostalgia and the modern aspect, the contemporariness together. So when you flip through this book, you really see that he can see. I don't know if that makes sense, but either the colors draw you in, or there's some interesting detail in the image. The photos are really simple, I would say. There's nothing complicated about his photography, but still he manages to capture something in each photograph that makes it interesting and that keeps you just flicking through the pages over and over again. And some things are just so simple and beautiful, like this image of a covered car. And I believe this is his first published book. So if you manage to get your hands around Arcadia by Ian Haworth, this is my top number one book of 2020. Right, I hope you enjoyed looking at my favorite books of 2020. If you did, hit the like button, follow my journey, and maybe you can get some of these books online. Have a look. I wish you a lot of fun with your photography and your photography books. See you next time.